Hare Krishna, everyone. So now we got the purification for the ladies discussed briefly. We started it at least. Now let's look at how the man becomes purified of his false ego within the Grihasta Ashrama. Shall we look at the man's duty? What's the man's duty? He has to take care of the ladies' emotional, spiritual and material needs. Well, if you remember quite right, he wants to be the hero, he wants to provide for the lady, he actually strives on that, right? It doesn't quite seem so purifying for the guy. I mean, he's in charge. He's the big guy providing it all, battling it all out and gets a kick out of it, providing for the lady. How is that purifying to the false ego? It is not. Whereas the duty of the lady actually is the purifying factor for her false ego. The duty of the wife and the duties of the mother is directly purifying the false ego. The duty of the husband the duties of the husband do not purify the false ego of the husband. Oh, that's not fair, right? It's not fair. No, it's fair. It's still part of the process. For a husband, fulfilling his duties will ultimately purify something, just not the false ego. It will purify lust, for example. And I didn't talk so much about lust yet. Maybe there will be a good spot later on to talk about lust in the different modes. But yeah, lust will be purified, right? But not the false ego. The false ego gets purified differently. And actually, the man, the husband, needs his wife for that, right? It's said that behind every man, every great man is a great woman. And it says woman, not wife. It's either the wife or the mother which equips the son with everything he needs to go through the battles of material life and comes out the other end purified. But without that female energy input at one stage in our lives, it's very difficult. Or I don't want to say impossible because I don't know that, but it will be very difficult. How does it work now? The purifying duties of the man are not purifying the false ego. Taking care of the emotional, spiritual and material needs will boost his false ego almost, right? Big me! I'm providing for my wife, for my children. Where's the purification here? It's not there. So we have to look a little bit to something else. How does it work for the guy? How does this big male false ego get purified? Right? The false ego of the man is stronger than the false ego, the sense of false ego in the lady. It's so much stronger in the guy. So how does it get purified? Why does he need his wife? Well, the answer may lie in one very nice and important instruction of Srila Prabhupada. How our love for Srila Prabhupada will be shown how much we're able to cooperate. Obviously, just learned that cooperation works differently depending on, which body you're in and so on. But it's about cooperation. And in this age of Kali, cooperation is one of the most difficult things. It's so difficult to cooperate. But that's where the solution is. Now let's look at the guys, right? How is the false ego designed? How is a male mind constructed, right? What does he want? He wants to be the hero. He wants to be in charge, lead, provide, be on top. Well, there are about 3 or 4 billion other false egos with exactly the same makeup. Every man wants to be in charge, on top, and be right, and whatnot. Then we have all the utensils clashing and dinging against one another. False ego battles taking place. And somehow in that whole mess in Kali Yuga, we are supposed to cooperate. And in that way showing our love and appreciation to Srila Prabhupada. Right? And that's exactly how the man gets purified. In those battles with other men. A man becomes purified by cooperating with other men. Why then marry? What does he need a wife for? And here's the answer. Mothers will be probably most easily be able to understand that example. Your child, your young little child, is playing with some other child in playgroup, on a birthday party, with your neighbors, whoever the child's playing with, one of the child's best friends. Right? Suddenly, arguments break loose. They scream and child comes running to the mother and crying, angry, furious. He took this, she took that. It's all going on, and I'll never play with him again. He's not my friend anymore. We all know that, right? As parents, we do know those situations. And what does the mother do? Gives the child a big hug and lets it cry for a moment, right? And what happened? And the child explains it all, bang, bang, bang. That's happened, this happened. He took my toy away, and then he pushed me over, and then the other child is running to their mother. The other child is crying to his or her mother, and does the same thing. He's not my friend anymore, and I don't want to see him anymore. And it's all going on, and it's so cute, actually, right? You hugging, and you think it's you seeing the little mind trying to comprehend it all and deal with the situation, and you just have to be there for the child. Give it a hug, give it time, It'll be all right. And then when the child is a little bit calmed down, then you can talk about the situation and so on, right? We all know that example, as parents at least. And maybe even if you're not a parent, you may have witnessed a situation like that, and it's kind of real cute, actually, right? Now, that's exactly why a husband needs a wife. Why men need a wife. The attached ones. The unattached ones, they had a good mother. The attached men, they need the wife. And with a good wife, any man can become great and the hero. So men have to cooperate with one another. So there will be tears, there will be conflicts, Sooner or later there will be a situation where he just had it. He's not dealing with that guy anymore. And he comes home. Oh, this devotee, that devotee, oh, this customer, my boss, that. And, Or in other words, I'm not playing with this guy anymore. Right? And the only difference between a child running to its mother and a husband running to its wife like that is, well, the husband is not as cute. But otherwise, it's exactly the same situation. It's exactly the same. He has to figure out how to compute that whole thing. And like the child, after being comforted by the mother and maybe equipped with a few things, how to deal with it. The next day the child has forgotten all that and plays again. But he knows, the child knows, the mother is always there. And that's the role of the wife to the husband. If the husband comes home, this devotee, that customer, this person, that person, and all fuming and steaming, and the wife should know what he's saying is, I'm not playing with him anymore. And the only thing the lady has to do is, what happened? And don't talk about it. Right? What the man needs is a nurse for his false ego. And when we want to understand actually what it means to be mother, not biologically, but the mother. The role of mother in society is so important. And one of the roles, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying mother is only a false ego nurse, a nurse for the false ego. No, mother is much more than that. But from the practical aspect, when young Western women hear, mother, they want to be addressed, the men should see them as mother, address them as Mataji. They just can't compute it. It's so foreign. We don't have proper examples. We don't have proper role models. We don't even know what that whole mother thing is supposed to be. But on a very practical aspect, and again, it's just a small part of that mother role. It's being the nurse for the false ego. Right? And that aspect is so important. The wife knows the husband, knows his moods and so on, right? He comes home, is all upset. The only thing he needs from the wife is, what happened? And now it becomes clear. Another aspect of why I discussed what I discussed in the first section. Nothing box, trampling upon a snake, his stupid ideas. They not only show how different men and women are working, right? How different their needs are. Those aspects, nothing box, they are tools for the wife to be the false ego nurse for the husband. He doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to switch off. But maybe he can't switch off. He has to let some steam, let the pressure go, and then this, that, blah, blah, blah. And the wife should understand. He had a bad day. Let's hear what happened, and maybe he lets out a bit more steam. And then what does the wife say? What is needed? Here, have a shower, here have this, here have that. Or in other words, what does the wife do? She takes a band-aid, because husband comes back from battle, slash, one slice of the false ego has been cut off. She just puts a band-aid on and tells the guys, have a shower, go for a run, whatever the husband usually needs. The wife should understand that, give him a treat, something like that. And just let him relax. Maybe the husband says, I proposed such and such idea and they didn't accept my idea. If he tells us all about his idea, and he even tells the wife his idea, how great his idea is, what does the wife say? The wife shouldn't say, well, that idea is pretty stupid, no wonder they didn't accept it. Right? Will he come ever back to you? No! You say that 2-3 times and he knows, well, you're not his nurse. No, you say, oh, that's a really good idea. I wonder why they didn't accept that. I think it's a really great idea. The wife is the number one fan. Whatever the situation is, if the wife understands, her role is the false ego nurse for the husband. In that way, his false ego becomes purified. How does it become purified in that way? Because he goes out to battle again. He recovers much faster and can go back out to battle. That's why modern armies have medics, have hospitals. In the hospitals there are nurses and doctors, and the medics are on the field carrying the guys out, stretcher bearer. Because the soldier knows, well, if I get injured, they know there is someone there to take care of them when they're injured. And that's why the husband needs the wife. He needs that care. He needs to know if he comes back from battle, battling it out with other devotees, trying to cooperate, battling it out in the material world, working world, with the boss, with the colleagues, with the customers. He knows he can come home and there is someone who takes care of his injuries. That's why a man needs a wife. And that's how the false ego gets purified. The wife, the husband gets the slice of false ego cut off. The wife puts a band-aid on and makes the husband feel really, really nice. And then the next day it's all good and he goes out again, back into battle. And ching, another slice. And again a band-aid. And ching, 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 ching. Slice by slice by slice. His false ego becomes purified. And with every band-aid she puts on, she melts his heart more and more. And he thinks more and more, what would I do without my wife? And now the art is how to take care of that. How to nurse it. How to nurse him. How to be the nurse for his false ego. And that's what we're going to discuss next. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Let's continue. The false ego nurse. That's the great role of the wife. The great role of the woman in society, actually. But let's stick to the wife aspect of that role. Right? It doesn't sound like such a big deal, right? And why should the wife be the nurse for her? She has to serve him. That way she gets purified. So if it's in your self-interest, it's in the wife's self-interest for devotional service, because the false ego gets purified, and because it melts the heart of the man. And then his reciprocation comes closer and closer, and he will be purified as well. And if his false ego is more purified, he becomes more selfless. Hello, so he can reciprocate better with you as well as the wife, right? So there are just some of those aspects. But how to do it? How to be the nurse? Now let's give some examples. There are different responses when the husband comes home, right? So let's start with the negative examples. And many men know that, right? Husband comes home, had a bad day, needs to let off steam. This devotee, that devotee. What is one response option? The wife looks at what's the reaction of the wife is, why are you angry with me? And I had that a few times, and then I was thinking, well, what did I just say? I said this devotee, that customer, this, that. I didn't say you. Where does that come from? So instead of the nurse factor, I need a nurse. I don't want to play with him anymore. It's like the wife doesn't make it about herself. Why are you angry with me? I'm doing my best here. Whatever the response is. And so instead of having a nurse, he has another drama. Right? He has to lick his wounds himself, and then there's a new drama on top of it. It has nothing to do when the man comes home angry, upset, whatever. It has absolutely nothing to do with the wife. You go, as if you have a broken leg or a deep cut or so, you go in a hospital. Imagine that. Yeah? You go in there, walk in the door, and the nurse says, why are you doing that to me? Who do you think I am? Well, you're a nurse, right? You're working here in the hospital. Imagine you go there. Will you continue going to the hospital? After a few times, and you think, like, that's nuts, that's ridiculous. Why should I go to the hospital if I just if people just shout at me there or make a big drama? So that's not but that happens so often because false ego. His false. That's one aspect of false ego as well, right? False egos react to each other. Husband's false ego is agitated, so it will agitate the lady's false ego as well. But understanding that, actually, he's just saying, I'm not playing with him anymore, then maybe he, in the eyes of the ladies, the husband can even look as cute as a child. Maybe not, but, ladies have this magic vision thing. They can actually see things in a cute way, even though they're not looking really cute once they know what's behind it. So that's what's behind it. He's just needing a false ego nurse. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing. You don't need why is he angry with me? And maybe there's some need of attention there as well. So that's one possible response. The other I gave already away, they didn't accept my idea and this and that. And well, I wouldn't have accepted that stupid idea myself, Sometimes that also comes out. And again, no band-aid, but another step. Just take a knife and put it back in the wounds and twist it a little bit. That's not very conducive for the relationship, right? He needs a band-aid. That's all he needs. And you can tell him, have a shower and sit down and relax a bit, or go for a run, go in the gym, something like that. But first of all is, what happened? Like with a little child. Another reaction. What do we get as men for reactions? This, that, and that devotee, this, Well, according to Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, and she instructs the guy. Oh my God. First of all, he's agitated. If hormones are poisoning the bloodstream, brain does not work. So those instructions are a useless waste of time. Not only that, on top of it, he is the hero. And by instructing him, you're taking the superior position and you're trampling upon the snake and agitating the snake even more. Also not such a good idea. Right? So those are the reactions man can get. I think I forgot one, but nevertheless, the principle should be clear. The principle should be clear. What the man needs is a band-aid, is a hug, some sweet words, a treat, and then his nothing box. That's it. If he gets those reactions, like the wife makes it all about herself, why are you angry with me? I'm doing my best, whatever I do is not good enough. Or gives him his instructions, when someone is agitated, you can't instruct that person. He has to calm down first, Simple principle, you can't instruct a child until it's calmed down, and then that you can work with a child. Same thing with the guy, right? Or criticizing his stupid ideas. It's the most important thing for the guy in the world, agitating him more and more, right? Obviously, that's not good. What does the guy learn then? He learns that he doesn't have a nurse. And then he's just upset, angry, and doesn't talk to the wife, right? He goes in his cave. That's what happens. The safest way to create a caveman to turn your husband into a caveman is exactly those things. Yeah? Instead of being the nurse for the false ego, just adding on top of it. Adding on top of the injury he received during the day from someone else. By making it about yourself. Not, not taking his ideas so seriously, not taking, instructing him, just adding injury on top of the already existing injury. Well, then what does he learn? He has to lick the wounds himself. And from that, what comes? He stays in his cave. He doesn't go out in his spare time, and try to cooperate with other devotees in devotional service or preaching or whatnot, dealing with other people, because he knows he has to lick the wounds himself. He feels he doesn't have support or the support he needs. He would never admit that. That's also not part of the male false ego program to admit that we need help. We just stay home in our cave because we can't get any injuries there, right, for our false ego. And what happens? Then there is no purification of the false ego. No slice and band-aid, slice and band-aid. That whole process doesn't take place then. That's the problem. That's why men need the wife, actually. A wife which understands her role in that situation of being the false ego nurse. And ultimately it's for her benefit. She should be happy if the husband comes home angry, because she knows now, band-aid on and zing, again, a little slice of false ego is gone. The more slices are gone, the more he will be able to reciprocate with her loving devotional service to him. The more he gets purified, the faster she gets the benefits from that relationship. That's how the lady should see it. Yahoo! He got really smashed at work today. And the only thing she has to do is, what happened? That's all they need to do. It's all women need to do. Wives need to do with their husbands. And then give him a hot chocolate. Give him some cold drink he likes. Whatever, the situation. Have something on hand. Have an idea how to give him a little treat. Or here's a Band-Aid and a lolly. What do you do with children? You give them a little treat and a Band-Aid or special dinner. Something to make him feel better. That's not very hard, is it? And what happens then? He will be so glad to have such a wonderful wife. And he will reciprocate. Oh, thank you. It may take some time. Especially also in the West. Men don't know how to reciprocate. They haven't learned it at home. They haven't seen it at home probably. Right? So you have to forgive them. It takes time. But that's actually how the male false ego gets purified. By cooperating with other men and then having the nurse at home who takes care of the guy. Otherwise he ends up in the cave. When he ends up in the cave, he definitely will not reciprocate. The wife misses out on the opportunity to actually melt his heart. And he will stay at home. Thus the false ego stays there and he will not go back home, back to Godhead. Because that false ego purification simply doesn't take place. Except if he's a really advanced devotee, then he just doesn't care and does his own thing. But again, there's no benefit for the wife then. He does his duty mechanically and then, he may take Varnashrama. Right? By himself, not with the wife. Right? So that can happen. And that's a big problem. Because when we look at, modern ideas, so to say, right? Certain ideas almost prevent, any feminist ideas. They prevent the wife from actually playing that role. If that pollution is there in the mind, then we cannot then we as spirit soul can't accept that role we meant to play. And it's very sad. Because that false ego role, the role of false ego nurse is so important. That's really how she conquers his heart, actually. One of the ways, one really good way, being his foremost fan, false ego nurse, put a Band-Aid on the guy's false ego and send him out to battle again. And he'll battle it out for you. He's gonna battle anything out for you if you play that role of nurse. And the more he battles out, the more selfless he becomes. And the more he's able to reciprocate. It's almost as simple as that. And guess what? The lady needs a nurse as well, and that's what we're going to discuss in the next session. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.